Mark, nice to meet you. Hi.
Thanks for bringing me along today, Steve.
Tell us a bit about CFone then.
Okay, well, I'm Mark. I'm the Operations Director of CFone Communications, a family-run business based in West London, Heathrow. We've been around since 1973, and this August we celebrated our 50th year of helping businesses throughout the UK improve their communications. We're unique in the industry in that we signed the SME Climate Hub pledge to reduce our carbon footprint to zero by 2030, which is ahead of the government's own deadlines. And we're also quite proud of the fact that we plant a tree in our own forest in North Wales for every phone or extension that we sell.
So why do you think schools in particular want to partner with CFone?
I think, Steve, it's because they find us friendly, approachable, straight talking, easy to deal with. We're all DBS checked. We don't employ pushy salespeople. There's no offshore call centre. You can reach us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by phone. So those are really good reasons why people want to deal with us. And one more point to add, Steve, is that school business managers, bursars, head teachers like working with us because we come along and we listen to their problems, because good communication does begin with listening.
When you take on a new site, what are some of the initial questions you would ask the customer?
Well, it's good to do some research of your own. I would also ask, who is your current supplier? Do you know if you're in a contract at the moment? Do you know when that ends? Is there an early termination gotcha fee at the end of the contract? How many lines you have? What type of lines they are? How many phones you need? Is there anything you like or dislike about the phone system? Things that you want to change at the moment? What are your time frames? So we need to know if we're working towards a half term or some other time frame that would suit you. We also ask for a copy of their phone bill because not always does a bursar or a head teacher know the answers to some of these questions. And quite often than not, when we look through a phone bill with them, we can point out things that they were originally paying for that they had no idea that they were paying for at all.
So Mark, can a phone system just be plugged in, or are there other considerations?
Well, the phone systems that we supply can be plugged in, but you should consider the wood for the trees, pardon the pun. Some of the things that we went through with Alderbrook and we go through with all the schools are, do you have any other types of lines? These could be for monitoring central heating, a security line, an alarm line, say like a red care line. These things more often than not can be converted to IP or 4G for monitoring more remotely. Are there any other fax lines, or perhaps you even have a gate intercom with a line on that? So those are the sort of things that can be sometimes discovered on phone bills, but we'll also ask in the broader context of discovery.
And presumably being IT based, there are some IT questions to ask as well.
Sure. Who's your internet provider? What speed is it? Who's your firewall with? And who's managing that? Because we generally have to ask the firewall team to reconfigure the firewall so that it'll work with the phones. In many classrooms, like we are in here, Steve, main sockets and Ethernet sockets are a bit scarce. Fortunately, all our phones work with the Ethernet sockets that would go into a computer, and then you just daisy chain them into your computer. That saves on power and cabling. And also all these phones that we bought here today are all powered by Ethernet. So if your school has PoE switches, then you won't need a main socket under the desk, and we all know that there's never enough main sockets in a classroom.
Any other frequently asked questions about phone numbers?
Sure, one that comes across quite surprisingly, actually, quite frequently is, will I be able to keep my phone numbers? And the answer is, of course you will. That's the whole point of moving your phone numbers to the cloud. So long as your phone supplier is in business still, and you're paid up to date, of course you can transfer your numbers to the cloud.
And what about the number of phone lines?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So with an on-premise phone system, like many of the people watching this video will have right now, you pay for lines going into your building. So you might have 2 analog lines or 2 ISDN lines or maybe more. And you're restricted by the number of calls you can make depending on how many lines you are paying your supplier for. That's not the case with cloud-hosted systems. So we've got 3 phones here, you've got 3 lines. If you've got 10 phones, you've got 10 lines. If you've got 50 phones, you've got 50 lines. There's no need for engaged tones with a cloud phone system. You have as many lines as you need phones.
What about phone numbers? Is it a similar process to when you're transferring your mobile contract?
Absolutely, yes. A little bit more care and attention goes into the process because we're dealing with a school rather than a single individual phone, but it's exactly the same in the same respect. You talk to your old supplier, you get a code of authority, and then you port your number to the new supplier. In the same respect, we would talk to your existing supplier, whether it's BT or whoever it is. We agree a date that works with your time frame when you want to move that number to the cloud. And we arrange what's called a porting form, which that you sign to say, I'm happy for these numbers to transfer from the old supplier to CFone on an agreed date. And while that's happening, and that takes about 10 days, we build your system, we configure your phones, we deliver them on site, we provide your training, so that your managers, bursars, head teachers are all confident that the phone system does exactly what it should, and your staff have had the training so they're proficient and they know how to use the phone system. And then finally, Steve, what we do is we provide a number on that phone system for you to make calls on right away, and we divert your old original number to the new cloud phone system. And when that happens, you can make and receive calls on your new phone system. And then about 5 days later, your number ports in the background, and it's not a big event, it's just something that happens in the background with no disruption to service.
So Mark, tell us about the phones you recommend. I know you use Yealink specifically.
Sure. We picked Yealink after looking at other brands, and we found that they were the most reliable, easy to work with. There's an extensive worldwide support network and supply network. You'll find these phones in hospitals, schools, clinics, businesses throughout the UK, well, in fact throughout the world, and they're very reliable. The other thing that really works well with our green credentials, because we're a green supplier, is they have green manufacturing processes. So they've got a very efficient factory where they make them, and they also use recycled materials in their products to lower their carbon footprint and their effect on the environment.
And you've brought a few phones along to show us today, Mark. Tell us about these ones then.
Okay, so what we've got here, this is a reception phone, and this model has got Bluetooth and Wi-Fi built in, which is really nice because receptions are usually busy. They've got the hands-free, pressing the intercom on the gate, taking a delivery from some delivery person, or making the tea or whatever. So what better to have a pair of Bluetooth headphones that work with them so they can wear those in their head, answer the phone call, type something on a computer, sign for a delivery, and make a tea all at the same time. So they're really, really fantastic for that circumstance.
Then the middle one we've got here.
So this middle one here, this is lightweight, works on your belt, so you can just walk around hands-free. It's got a lovely range to it, very clear. All these phones come with what's called acoustic shield technology, and to put it in perspective, they all have hearing loops built in them. So if you're hard of hearing, just flick your hearing aid to hearing loop, and these will talk directly to the caller rather than amplifying on the surround to the school in the background. All of these phones have that. And also, if you've just got general hearing, they've also got very clear earpieces on. There's another phone that I'd like to show you, just while we're talking about walkabout phones, Steve. This one, which Michael uses at Alderbrook. This one is similar to the other cordless phone. Okay, same sort of range, but the really nice thing about this one, okay, it's Bluetooth. So he can wear it with Bluetooth headphones, and he can have it clipped to his belt. So if he's carrying something heavy and someone's talking to him, or if he's fixing something on a computer rack and he's talking to a supplier, let's say, he can be hands-free, still talking to them and doing his job. The other nice thing about this one is it's dust-proof, it's shock-proof, so if he drops it off the ladder or on the floor down the stairs, it'll still work. And it's also waterproof, coffee, and hopefully no one's tested it, toilet proof.
Lovely. And finally, the third one on the desk here.
Okay, so this is from the T3 series of Yealink phones. These have got the acoustic shield in again, so they shield background noises when you're in a classroom or a noisy environment. They've also got the hearing loop in there, so if you've got a particular person with a hearing aid, flick to hearing loop, they'll only hear the caller, not all the surrounding noise. They don't employ switches in the bases so that you can hammer them down, take a bit of abuse that they might take in a classroom. All the phones come with a Yearlink lifetime warranty, and the other nice thing about these ones, they're also wall mountable. You just pull the stand off and you can mount them on the wall so they can be up out of the reach of children.
Very versatile. I gather there are apps as well.
Unlike other suppliers, our apps are included in the monthly cost. So the app here works on a 4G phone. It can also work on an Android phone. The app will also work on a laptop. So let's say you were at home and you needed to work from home, didn't want to use your iPhone or your Android phone for some reason, you can just have the app on your laptop or Mac, and you can make and receive calls through that. The really nice thing about having the app on your iPhone or your Android phone is that you're out about, let's say it was sports day, someone had an injury, you need to make an emergency call to a parent or to the hospital or whatever, you can call them, but they will have the phone number from the school, not from your mobile. So also for emergency services, if you're calling on the field and you need to call from the school number, emergency services know which school to come to and where to attend. The other quite nice thing about having an app is that you can be reached, obviously if you're working from home. If there was an entire outage, there was no power in the whole of Fulham, and there was a snowstorm and no one could get into school, but the teachers or heads or IT people had the app on their phone, which is included with every extension, then they can still make and receive calls on the school phone number completely without any of the power that would be required from the school to even attend.
Fantastic. So we've really dived into some detail there on switching to the cloud. Could you just summarise the main steps any school goes through when switching to the cloud with CFone?
So the first one is date. We agree a date when the school wants to switch to the cloud and have the phones working. Configure the phone system so it does everything it needs to do, plays the right noises at the right times, does the right messages, configure the right buttons. Deliver the phones, remove the old ones, provide the training for the staff on site. Then when everyone is confident that the phone system does what it needs to do and the staff are proficient, they know how to use it, we simply divert the phone number of the school to the new cloud phone system for a few days, about 4 or 5 days. So you can make and receive calls on the new phone system. The last part in that summary is the porting date, which we've already agreed. It happens in the background and with no disruption to the school. And providing a school partners with a reasonable supplier, that should be the same steps for whatever scenario you're going through.
Okay, so we've installed all the phones, they're all working. What about aftercare and the support? Is that part of the package as well?
Everything's included in the per user, per monthly cost. There's no offshore call centres, so if there's an issue or if someone needs some support, we're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from our offices in West London. There's follow-up meetings to answer any questions about the phone system or the way people are using it. And occasionally people want to reconfigure things or tweak some things, that's all included as well. Uploading phone numbers to the phone book so you can identify suppliers or parents calling in, that's all included. Help with call recording and reporting so you can see how much you're using the phone system. And usually what we find after the first 3 weeks to a month, there's an aha moment where the school suddenly realise how flexible the phone system really is and how it's changing the way they can work. And I can only say that that is something you know once you've gone to the cloud. But when you do go to the cloud, you've got a lot more options to how you want to work and how you can be made available.
So the big question, Mark, cost. How much will the CFone system cost for installing the hardware, the setup, the training, the subscription, calls and call recording?
Without giving away too much, Steve, we're a family-run business. The simplest thing to do is just give us a call. But to give you some meat on the bone, there is a setup cost. That includes setup, training, installation, delivery. There's a purchase cost of the phone hardware, so that's buying the physical handsets. And then there is a per user monthly user cost, which is generally if you've got 10 phones, it's 10 times the per user fee. But that includes everything. It includes the call recording, all your UK calls, all the support, swap outs for any faulty handsets, any reconfiguring, any training. Everything's included in that per user fee.
So can you break down those costs for us, starting with the setup fee, for example?
Setup fee includes talking to your supplier, talking to your firewall support people, porting your phone number to us, setting up your phone system, sending you the templates so that you can listen to how the phone system's going to sound when you actually got it, delivering the phones on site, removing the old phones, training your staff. All that's included in the setup.
What about hardware?
Okay, so hardware is physically buying the phones. Typically, these are the most popular phones we've got here with us today, Steve. This reception phone is around £150. This walkabout phone is about £100, and classroom phones are about £50 each.
Then you've got the monthly cost per user.
So the monthly cost is simple. It's however many phones you need is how many users you get, and each person pays a per user per month fee. That includes all the UK calls. It includes the CFone app that I've already talked about. It includes call recording, importing any of your phone book so that you can identify suppliers and parents, any reconfiguration changes, follow-up meetings, follow-up training.
What if you want to increase or maybe decrease the number of phones?
Yeah, it sometimes happens, Steve. So if a school is joined with another school, maybe they inherit a nursery or a feeder school, something like that. And you have to have, say, an extra 5 phones, extra 10 phones, or an extra 1 phone. That's absolutely fine. We will put all those phones in coterminous so that if you've got 10 months left on your contracts, those phones would be in that contract for the remainder of it for those 10 months. We won't start a new contract because you've gone and bought 3 more phones.
What about budget constraints, particularly at schools?
Yeah, as we know, with schools, budgets are very tight. Every penny counts. So we're flexible to work with. If you've got a constraint in your budget, we've got a plan for it. Some schools have asked us if they can pay monthly. Some have asked for termly. Some have even asked if we can pay yearly. But being a small family business, we can accommodate those constraints with the right plan for you.
Well, that was really interesting and I hope very helpful for those watching. So when you're looking to switch your phone system to the cloud, you now know all the things to consider. And I'm sure Mark and his team at CFone will be happy to answer any questions you have. Right, Mark?
Absolutely, Steve. Yeah, just give us a call because good communication begins with listening.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Steve.
Cheers.